Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show to talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about episode 2 of Cowboy Bebop. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we got our first, viewing of Punch and Judy, which I'm like, they had that little thing at the back, and I do like the cheesy to my recollection, I think translating it to TV-wise, you have to make it kind of like that. It feels kind of like almost like cheesy commercial, this is like a local commercial type of thing. It has that feel to it. I don't remember, maybe it's unintentional, maybe it's just, but it feels like to me, and I feel like that works for that. But I don't remember it necessarily feeling like that with the anime, to my recollection. But also, Punch, steps on her line, and she's like, that was my line. She's like, I don't remember them ever having, a moment like that. So I don't, once again, you could be like, you idiot, it happened in the show. In the anime, I don't remember. So, but I never, they were always, in sync. So them being out of sync like that just seemed interesting. But it's still nice. And it's keeping true to that costume, especially because I forget how revealing that outfit is. Because, the only reason why I had it clear in my head before this live adaptation, because I know, it's a weird reference to me, but, years ago, I know Meg Turney did, a cosplay of it. I'm sure plenty of people have, but, I remember she did a video where she had actually been working on the cosplay to try to get as close as possible to the original. But I was like, man, when you see that in live action, it's weird, because it's man, because I didn't remember that outfit being as revealing until you see it live action-wise. You're like, Jesus. Regardless, but the bounty this time is a bomber named Teddy. So you have Spike and Jet, laying low key at a church, and it's a wedding or something like that. Spike goes to the bathroom and gets attacked. I forgot. I guess Spike has that stereotypical anime thing going, main protagonist anime thing going on. Oh, my stomach's growling, so he's got, everyone's like that. Naruto, Goku, Luffy. Luffy's probably the biggest glutton. And I feel like he could put Goku to shame with just how much he eats. Luffy's a little different. He literally can burn through his powers. Using his powers can burn through. I'm not going to go full-blown, showing it. But obviously, it's a trope, but I didn't remember Spike was like that. Once again, that could be an interpretation they're making for the show, but I feel like that's probably true to who he is, because it's wait, a buffet? We might as well, check out your hunches and stuff like that. They tend to be, right? But then, he gets attacked in the, bathroom, and so he has to go deal with that guy. I also didn't remember Spike being, once again, it's just me, and just, I'd say it again and again, I didn't remember him being so ruthless. To be fair, it's well, you're trying to kill me. If I let you live, you're going to go blabbing to someone else about me being alive, so I need to kill you, especially if you're from the Syndicate. But also, if I let you live, you're literally just going to come after me again, so I have to put you down now. I don't know why I have it in my head. I think it depends on the circumstances, because I feel more often than not, you never really see, almost, obviously bounties are dead or alive type of situation. You want to bring people in alive, but I guess because of that, because Spike only goes in defense, it's only killer, it's usually a kill or be killed type of situation Spike will find himself in when he kills. Other than that, it's not he actively goes out of his way to I'm gonna kill everyone in my way. It's just no, it's a self-preservation type of situation. And while Spike was dealing with that, Jet got knocked down by the actual bomber as he escaped. So kind of got screwed to pooch on that. Once again, they're always down on their luck, always not having an opportunity to always get screwed in some shape or form when it comes to actually collecting a bounty. Things are never too simple for them. Just things have a tendency to go awry. And he's kind of blaming Spike. And I thought it was interesting. Spike's not mentioning what happened. Is because they didn't correlate in my head to think oh yeah, dude's with the Syndicate. Because I was right, this episode also confirmed what I thought. I was yeah, I think I remember Jet not knowing. And I couldn't remember the reasons why. But Spike went into it this episode of right, it's because it could, yeah, it's Jet is in fact an ex-cop. And he has his issues with the Syndicate. Now, whether those were personal reasons or it's just as a cop and just everything that the Syndicate represents, you're kind of against. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have issues with the Syndicate, but probably as a former police officer, he has deeper reasons. Just as a cop of yeah, where you on the side of the law versus who they are and what they represent. But I feel it might have been something personal. Once again, I don't remember. So Spike is keeping it from him, even to the point like Spike has blood on like the lower part of his chest, so he rolls his sleeve down a little bit just to hide it from Jet. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna go get noodles. He's like, yeah, you go here and you Jet, you stay here and read the manifesto. I'm gonna go get some noodles. But he goes to visit Anna, which played by Tamara Dooney. Like the thing I best know her from, like for a long time she played like the Emmy on Law and Order SVU. That's like the thing number one thing I've ever known her from. I should also break that down. Like obviously it's like one, Spike Spiegel is John Cho, so it's like I want to say like Harold and Kumar might be the first thing I ever saw John Cho in. The actor who plays because I'm going to butcher his name, but the actor who plays Jet. Netflix wise, you know, Bushmaster in season 2 of Luke Cage, but he was also in a TV show called Jet. Ironically enough. He's only in it for like a tiny bit, but yeah, just kind of an interesting thing I never thought about. The actress who plays Faye, I have to look into it because I feel like I recognize her. I'm just not sure. She seems familiar. I should have brought that up in the first episode, but I'm bringing it up here since I'm on casting and stuff like that. But tangents and all that aside, he went to visit Anna, and obviously like her place is kind of like a no-nonsense place, but she knows Spike, or at least back when he was fearless and with the syndicate, because she's like, oh, like you let me mourn you and for 3 years and think you were dead. It's like, well, I kind of needed everyone to think I was dead, you know, but now it's like, right, I have to come out of the woodwork because I think the syndicate might know I'm alive because someone came after you today at a church and they were syndicate trained, so she's going to keep an eye on things for him. But obviously he sees the picture of Julia and is like, is she happy? It's like, yeah, she's married to Vicious and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like, he didn't have any remark about that. It's interesting. Well, because I think Vicious is a man by the books of like, right, this is what the Syndicate wants. The Syndicate wanted him dead and he's dead. But also it's just like, so I think like Spike and him have history. Like, I think were they friends or at least on a decent enough terms beforehand? So like Spike finding out she's married to Vicious, he didn't have any reaction to that. It did bother him knowing like, hey, she's off with someone else like that. You know, once again, that thing with Katarina probably set a lot of stuff in his heart aflutter. Just thinking, you know, he's been dreaming about the situation with Julia, but it's not until like the Katarina thing, I think, kind of spurred a lot of those dreams, as he kind of put them, like, you know, having to finally wake up from the dream. So a lot of that dreaming is kind of spurred back up, I think, because of the last bounty he was on and everything. And even Anna finding it hilarious that he's a cowboy now. He's like, what else? I guess like with my skills and my everything like I got from the Syndicate, like what else would I be doing? But as I write this partner, does he know about it? And it's like, no, he doesn't. Like, and brings up everything. And I love that it's like, right, you would have thought all the lying you would have learned something from it. So I wonder, is that like his lying about stuff he did while he was with the Syndicate, or just as a part of being with the Syndicate, like he did a lot of lying? I'm curious what she's necessarily referring to in that regard, but it is a situation where he's like, right, if I tell him, it'll break him, and then he'll break me. But at the same time, like, Jet's pacing back and forth trying to figure out Teddy's, like, MO and just understanding, like, why he does what he does. He talks about the halos from the explosions is what he likes, and just reading the manifesto and just, you know, doing other stuff while he's doing it, so. But him and Spike eventually meet back up, and they go after Teddy. And I love that. It's like, well, you have a bomb expert named Theodore, literally named Teddy, and it's like, could it be this easy? And I love that Spike's like, oh, should we go to the cockpit? And he's like, no, that's too obvious. He's like, no, but it's still Spike. It's like, we literally tracking down a guy named Teddy. That's super obvious. You said it normally isn't this easy, but then like all of a sudden, like, yeah, maybe we should go with what is kind of easy in this regard. But I love like almost like this like poetic moment of just like Spike touching the noodles, and he's like, these are still warm. Wasn't too long ago. It kind of reminds me, especially like the cup of noodle. It makes me think of FF15, just like how that was just like all up into like promotional material for that game, and because I think they had ad placements and stuff in the game for like they bought like real estate in the game to be like, oh yeah, like cup of noodle was like super in the like at the forefront in some of like, you know, when it came to cooking in that game. So it's just like it just made me think of it. I'm someone who does enjoy cup noodles when I do get it from time to time. But I also do like that Jet does know that like something's bothering Spike, because he does bring it up later on. It's like, right, you disappeared for like 6 hours and I couldn't track you. It's like, wait, you were tracking me? He's like, yeah, that's what you have to do when your partner kind of goes without telling you. And it's like, so, and he's also like, something more than just not being able to get noodles has kind of gotten up your ass, because it's like you're kind of acting like an asshole. Because I love that, like the whole good cop bad cop thing, and you know, it's like, he's like, we're not cops. And it's like, oh, so what are you guys, just assholes? He's like, oh, okay. Seeing how it is. Well, at least like when they were talking to that guy earlier. But I did like that line when Spike stopped Jet from stepping on the trap. He's like, yeah, your asshole would have become a new scarf for you or something like that. But it turns out Home Dude is in the cockpit because the ship starts taking off. But it's like, don't worry about it. Like, Spike is a little too laissez-faire about certain things. But then, like, the back and forth between him and Jet, so. But I do love it's like, right, like, what's going on with you? Your partner's like, tell me what's wrong. And Spike is still just hesitant to say anything. And I love that Home Dude comes up and like, was that straight out of the anime too? Like, Home Dude not being muffled. And it's like, wait, what did he say? Did you catch that? No, not a bit of it. Do you? And it's like, no. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, yeah, drop or we won't help get to the Ichabod. And it's like, Ichabod? What's an Ichabod? I don't know. And just like, oh. And then later on they figured out, it's like, oh, escape pod. I love it. That was a pretty smooth move from Jet, like switching to the other foot, keeping his heel on it as he falls backwards to catch the detonator. I also meant to bring this up earlier because the whole like, oh, we should be going this direction, but Jet being like, no, kind of makes me, once again, here's my Kingdom Hearts reference of the day. Kind of reminded me of Kingdom Hearts 1 when it's like, oh, Pluto's heading towards Sora, and Goofy's like, oh, maybe we should. And then Donald's like, oh, what do you know, you big Baluka? And it's like, oh, Goofy's like, what do I know? And like, come on, Pluto. And it's like, yeah, you would have found your key bearer if you had just followed Goofy's lead. Just kind of reminded me of that. I know it's like a weird reference to just kind of make, but, you know, I'm all about the Kingdom Hearts references. But nevertheless, even with the opportunity presenting itself, Spike still just couldn't bring himself, because he knows, like, if he tells Jet the truth, it's not necessarily he's worried about Jet hurting him or anything like that, but it's just like, right, the partnership. I think Jet's probably to my recollection, and I could be wrong about this, but Jet's the only person he's really connected with since, like, the Syndicate situation, since, you know, faking his death and leaving that all behind. It's like, he found a new partner, someone that can have his back, but at the same time, it's like, it's still that guilt of like, right, I'm lying to him. Because he's got the anime protagonist thing of like, right, I'm acting like the bumbling fool when there's actually a little bit of a darker element going on here. Another anime reference would be like Vash to Stampede. Vash acted like the bumbling idiot, but there's like a darker thing going on with Vash and everything. Like, yeah, like Spike's got that going on. Like, he does that to kind of make people disarmed and not, you know, he has his moments of, even when he's taking things seriously, it's still not as, but like, even like when everything went down with Katarina at the end, you saw him go full-blown serious mode, because he has those moments where he will get serious if the situation calls for it. But other than that, he's very laid back and keeps a lot of stuff, bottled up, because it's just like, right, you don't want to get the people, even Jack, because it's like, right, he's someone you care about, but also at the same time, you're like afraid of like, you're going to lose like this partner and friend of yours if he ever finds out the truth about you. So it's like, right, you crack jokes, it's a defense mechanism of sorts. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I'm trying to remember, is this one of the few wins they ever have, like this whole Teddy thing? I'm like, once again, to my recollection, it's like, it never fully works out for them when it comes to the whole, like, bounties things. Like, I always feel like they get screwed over, like I said, either by Faye or just like things just happen to go wrong, and it's just never fully. We'll find out whether or not the bounty actually fully plays out because of the whole, how things potentially will play out, like, if they continue this next episode. They did focus on like close up on Spike and his eyes and everything. I was like, right, I forgot that was a thing with Spike. I think he has heterochromia. I remember there being something, because I remember distinctly like this scene of like him being super close to Faye and Faye kind of looking him in his eyes. There was something different about his eyes, but I can't remember what they were. Like I said, I don't remember if it was a heterochromia thing, because he does have a little bit of a thing of like there's an outlining of blue to his eyes, but I don't remember if that was like all there was to it. Like, was it just slightly different or I don't remember what the whole thing was about it. Like, it wasn't like, I can't remember if it was like, maybe it's like, oh, this is pretty significant, but I remember it being like important enough that they focused on, but I don't know if it's like the end all be all important, but it was significant enough that they made a moment, like even a moment between him and Faye about that, having her look him in the eyes and stuff like that. And I think, circling back to it, I think even Spike deciding like, hey, I'll be the one to stay behind, it's like, because he values Jet's life more than his, because it's like, he kind of values Jet's life more than his, like, right, like, you know, considering all that I've ever done, if it ever ends up in a situation where I die, like, as long as you're okay, that's fine. Because I think it's like, you know, that's why he chose a job where it's like, right, it's a job where I can use my skills and live every day, but it's also like, right, you're always creeping, in a job like this, the lines between life and death can catch up to you so quickly, but it's like, right, you've already lived a life, you've already died, so there's probably that element of like, nah, I've already died once and I'm still here. So always walking on that, tiptoeing towards death, living a life like that is just kind of maybe in his own mind, Spike feels like, I have nothing else to live for, but also like, you know, I have nothing, you know, I have to make up for my past, you know, all that I've ever done, my association with the Syndicate, which, speaking of said Syndicate, the Elders, which I'm like, because I was thinking last episode, I was like, Vicious isn't, like, they're talking to Vicious like he's a leader, but it's like, he's pretty high ranking, but he's not a leader, right? It's like, right, and we get introduced to the Elders, which I'm like, I don't remember these suckers worth anything, but it's like, yeah, they call him out because he was dealing red eye, and it's probably, if it wasn't for Asimov, like, probably would have never gotten found out. He probably would have been able to keep up his business. Who knows? They probably would have found him out eventually. But he's like, right, everything I'm doing is expanding your business. It's like, no. We do what we do. You don't get to make those decisions. So you took something from us, so we'll take something from you. And so they had him point the gun at Julia. And it was like, considering everything, I'm like, I know the gun's not it can't be loaded. I knew it was like just a test or whatever, because I'm like, I know how the story plays out, so there's no way they're going to kill her this early. But it's like, yeah, put the gun in his hands and just like pulls the trigger. And I even love later, he's like, yeah, I knew it wasn't loaded, it was off. She's like, don't lie to me, because you were panicked about pulling the trigger. You were, if you knew it wasn't loaded, you would have immediately been like, okay, and pulled the trigger. It's like, no, they just wanted to see that you would pull the trigger. And it's like, next time the gun's going to be loaded, don't cross us again, you know. And Julia's just saying like, oh, you're pathetic. You promised you were going to protect me, you know, from Syndicate and everything, but you can't even protect me from him. And I guess there's specifically an elder. And I guess this probably ties back into the Spike thing. Maybe why this particular elder has like beef with her. She has beef with a certain elder. But she's like calling him not enough of a man. And he starts strangling her. And he's like, don't ever say I'm not enough of a man. It's like, ugh. Not the happy marriage that Spike was probably thinking or hoping for. So like I said, I think there's a lot of underlining elements of like everything between her and Spike that plays a role in that resentment in that relationship. But later on we do see he's at the bar and his people come to him and is like, yeah, we think the guy we sent, Fearless killed him. So Anna's listening into it. So it's like, yep, they definitely know Spike's alive. So she did say she was going to contact him in the usual manner, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see what the next episode takes us. Like I said, I'm taking this episode at a time, like, man, I don't remember a lot of this. Like I said, maybe it would have been better if I had just watched the anime, but I'm like, I kind of like, because like, like most things I don't watch the like, there are very few things like I'll have like some notion of like the OG, like Charmed is like one of the few things where like, oh, I know that enough to be like, oh, that's like this and that, and make comparisons in certain regards. That's the only thing I've watched recently enough. I'm not well associated enough with Marvel or DC stuff to really kind of formulate my own thoughts 100% of the time on like where certain TV shows might go or where certain movies might go, what they'll incorporate, what storylines they're adapting and stuff like that. Sometimes I'm like that with anime and manga because I've been like that with like the past two animes I watched, Tower of God and Noblesse, because I read them years ago. So I had some ideas. There was still stuff I didn't remember. Even the one I plan to watch at some point in time, The God of High School, like, I've read that, but it's been years, so I need to pick that up again. But I'm going on tangents. It's just like, it wouldn't help, but I like being able to, like I say, kind of go into this fresh enough, being like, I have some memories, but like I said, still enjoying it while it's new. I'm just going to keep saying that over and over again, because I'm like, oh, did this happen? I feel like I have a vague memory of it, but it's like, that's just definitely going to be interesting when these go live, and just how people respond to that. It's just what I'm curious about, whether people are going to be like, oh, I'm so annoying, or they hated that, or they think I'm stupid. I'd love to know what people are thinking about it. So, well, specifically about me constantly being like, I don't remember that's from the anime or not, so, and just my perspective on not rewatching the anime prior to this live adaptation coming out. So, but regardless, like I said, I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.